So I got a call on my phone and it just like ended the video I was filming. That's a design flaw. Can I turn that off? Anyone know anything about freaking Samsung smartphones? Jesus. Okay, that was annoying. Well, so I guess I'm gonna post two shorter videos today. We're on the memoir shelf looking at this. Wait, before we were so rudely interrupted. Also, it might have been something important. They were both New Mexico numbers. Great. One of my kids has been arrested or something. That's where my mind goes. It's from Rio Rancho. Like, that's the only thing that could be. Arrested kid. Not that that's ever happened, but I just wouldn't put it past them. Let's see what else is on this shelf. This is a stream of consciousness memoir where it's just like this thing and then that thing. That is so cool. I think Lynn Haginian has something like that. Is that what I'm thinking of? Oh yeah, this William Burroughs. Someone loaned me this, but then disappeared from my life. I haven't seen him in like a decade, so I guess that's mine now. Day After the Day After. That's about that movie, The Day After, that terrorized a lot of us 80s kids. Gave us hyperfixations on nuclear stuff for the rest of our lives. It's about growing up in Lawrence, Kansas, where a lot of that movie was about. And, Albuquerque, where I live, is like arguably even more nuclear. Great. We might have a third of the nation's nuclear arsenal here. Great. Ugh. Okay. Memoir. I've read a few of these here. This is delightful. I'm going to reread that sometime. Memoir of moving to Andalusia, Spain. Kind of good travel writing. What else? David Shields. I've not read this, but I've read Reality Hunger Manifesto, which is an amazing work, mostly plagiarized, intentionally so. Every paragraph is from a different author. David Shields. Heartbreaking Work of Staggering Genius. I stan it. That's a great, groundbreaking memoir. I think it's aged pretty well. I have lots of thoughts in that book. Should I share them here? It's just excellent. There's some passages that are so good. Dave Eggers, his nonfiction narrator, finds himself having to raise his younger sibling after both his parents die from cancer in like a really short amount of time. And I have a nephew who was in a similar situation. When his dad and his mom died within 6 months of each other. Different stuff. I think they had a radon leak in their basement. Like, who gets cancer like that? What the heck? And my brother had all these other health problems too, so. Anyway, so he raises this kid, but he's like a young hipster and is ill-equipped to do so in many ways. And kind of raises the kid like a little adult. And I don't know, their friendship is really delightful. It's a great part of that book. Do I not have This House of Sky? That shit needs to freaking be in my memoir section. I'm like, This House of Sky by, what's that guy's name? Dang, I don't see it. That Montana writer. Ivan? Don't remember everything, I guess. Okay, that alarms me. This House of Sky by Ivan Doig is not on my memoir shelf. It's one of the best memoirs ever. I must have given it away. That's like one of those books I'm always like pressing on people. Weird that I couldn't remember the title, the author right away. Freaking COVID. COVID is a neurological disease, and I had it twice. It totally changed how I think. I now like reach for a word that sounds like a word instead of, that's crazy. What else do I have here? Oh, this was someone I knew from UNM, heartbreaking memoir about her kid that died. That's so good. That's a good book. It's not, it's about something really dark. And when you know the people, it's like adds this other element to it, but it's a very artful beautiful memoir. Son of a Gun, Justin St. Germain. He was a professor at UNM when I was a grad student that was older than him. And he kind of became part of a friend group that I had. And this book is incredible, a memoir of him growing up in Tombstone, Arizona, which is this town famous for violence. And and there's a death in his family. And, it's people put it into that tradition. And to me, it gives such good perspective on how we talk about the Old West and how we talk about the violence of the past. Like recognizing that it's not something to mythologize, maybe in the way that we do humans. What else we got going on here? Oh, this book was very influential on me. Talk about that sometime. The Glory of It All is one of the great memoirs I've ever read. Oh my gosh, it's so good. I mean, it's like a book I wanted to not like because it's about one of the richest kids in San Francisco and this incredible life of privilege. But it's so well written. It's so engaging. It's such a huge story that he has to tell. And it's so well told. It's an excellent, excellent memoir. I really love that. I think I've read that 3 times. Finding Spoons, my friend Victoria Merriman, she goes by now. She is so awesome. She biked across the country and wrote this incredible memoir about it that should totally be a movie. Come on. Get on it, Hollywood. It would be low budget to film, too. Cast of 1 with a few people that she meets along the way and just a lot of biking. That'd be a great movie. But that's just, man, I don't know. I love when my friends write memoirs. It's such an insight into who they are. This is my high school idol, Julia Butterfly Hill, who sat in a tree to protect the redwoods forever. I've not yet read her book, but I'll always think she's awesome. Charles Lindbergh. I also have We, the book he wrote right after. See, that's the COVID thing I'm talking about. Across instead of after. Give me a break. He wrote this book called We, him and his airplane, right after the flight. And then later he did this heavily polished, memory influenced work that Anne Morrow Lindbergh probably really wrote most of. She polished it so much that she was basically a co-writer. And she was a very good writer. And, but I've always thought it'd be cool to read those 2 accounts and see what memory does over deep time. It's a little literary experiment I got lined up. And plus, look at this lovely edition. That's so pretty. Whoa. Okay. Now, on to... Okay. I have these in the memoir section, even though they're classified as autofiction, which is the new, Romana Clef, thinly veiled nonfiction. But to me, this is a work of memoir, and it's so interesting. I'm so glad I read these. I'll definitely read them again. I read all 6, and kind of makes me mad that he dashed them off so quickly. He really did write them fast. I'm like, what kind of method is that for something like this? But when you see the scope of what he's doing, and in the last book, it's so obvious that he copy-pastes something from another work into it. It's 300 actually very interesting pages once you get into it about the early life of Hitler in the last book. I mean, the series takes the title from that, My Struggle, Mein Kampf. There's some weird elements to this one, but ultimately, I don't think he's a Nazi or anything like that. I think he's a real weirdo freak. You really get to know him. And it's such a great example of scope. I hear it's 3,600 pages with all 6 of them. You'll note here I do not have book 2 here because I loaned it to someone that never gave it back. Never loan books in a series. Give me a break. And I've seen this person multiple times, and they've made no offer or effort to get it back to me. So what the heck, man? Anyway, dear friend, please return my book to me. That's what I meant. Dear friend, I want it. I'll just buy it again if I get a chance. Anyway, My Struggle. Check this out. I mean, okay, I'm going to talk about Knausgaard for a minute because he's just awesome. And I only know My Struggle. I've not really read his other works, so I have read like short pieces here and there. Even those are kind of longish, like one he wrote for the New York Times about going to Viking sites. I mean, this guy, like, his thing is just put everything out there, and it makes it an experiment in scope. I do love maximalism for that. Like, TV shows are like that, you know? You get to really know these characters, and you have a different relationship than you do with one you get to know over 2 hours in a movie. I mean, scope is really interesting. So in book one, you know, we meet this guy. Stop looking at me. Stop. He's looking at you too. He's looking right into the camera. In book one, he, I know what to. In book one, his dad dies, and he spends much of the book cleaning up his dad's apartment. His dad was like a gross dude, drinking himself to death in like a hoarder's nest, and so he's cleaning it up. This is some of what he's been sued about by his uncle, and I mean, he's had all kinds of fallout from this book. Probably my Ghost of Christmas Future when my 2-volume mega work comes out. Anyway, so in this one, that's kind of it. It's anchored very much in that, and you see his dad abandoned his family when he was younger, and what happens? Blah blah blah. So book one kind of catches you up to his present day, though most of it really is just cleaning his dad's place and like using that as a place to reflect on. And he's detailed. He tells you everything that he does. So it's kind of, I like that kind of maximalism. I like Robbie Gray. I like stuff that does that. You know, it's fun. Overriding, and I mean, realizing that you can't completely describe something. Like, I've always wanted to write a piece that was just like describing a ceiling fan with no metaphors for like a while, because there's so much going on with the light and shadow there that you totally could do that and it would actually be interesting. Instead, I wrote a shorter essay that's just me talking about that I want to write that. But so this book is great, and then it brings you up to present day. And in book two, it's basically like he's a young dad, and he's youngish, not that young. He's a dad with young kids, and he's pushing his kids around in strollers. And it was funny because I read a lot of this while I was pushing my kids of book two, while I was pushing my kids around in strollers. And so then book two kind of gives us him in the present day. We see his life and so on. And then book three, I don't even think that's him. They just did some stock photo. Kind of hate when books do that. But like, do a little research, find an actual photo or something, you know. But whatever. In this one, so then he flashes back to childhood, and it's like easy to do so because he's been talking about his own kids, and suddenly he's about the age of his kids in book three, and we go through his childhood. And then in book four, we get into his young adulthood. And sometimes it is just TMI, the book. Like, what? Why do you have to hear all this stuff in your life, dude? Gross. But sometimes it's very interesting. He hangs out with Bjork at one point, because Norway and, you know, Scandinavia. What else? So yeah, book four, he's a young adult. You also get to see what like a socialistic system looks like education paid for, job assigned. Here's some options. Go start your job right away. It's an all right job even. You have a book coming out? Well, since you're from our country, we'll promote it and make sure every library buys a copy. I mean, it's kind of cool. In all these books, he never talks about money troubles. I mean, that's something really interesting to me. I'm like, my book is just drowning. Anyway, book five, what the heck happens to that one? Oh, book five takes us up, I think, through the creation of this book. And it takes us up to his dad's death. It like connects everything. So book five kind of completes the circle. Book four here was a bookstore advance copy from Bookworks where I used to work. Um, and book 5 takes us up to that, and then book 6 has that big Hitler digression, and but it's also, you know, about a response to these previous volumes and like what writing something like this does to your life. And I love these books; they're great. Oh, Mark Rudd from the Weather Underground. I've known him and hung out with him. Been to his property. Have some Mark Rudd stories. Crazy. New Mexico's so funny. There's another book from Greg Martin. That's his memoir after Mountain City. That's also very interesting. 10 Million Steps. That's about walking the East Coast. Something I did a long time ago. What do we have down here? This video is already too long. Let's save this for another video. All right. This is what we'll look at next time.